Sure. Just going to start to my right and move down the table. Jay Giard.
Here.
Megan Malcolm.
Here.
David Smith.
Here.
Caitlin Parnell.
Here.
Erin Pellegrini.
Here.
And also seated at the board table is Superintendent of Schools, Robert Thompson, and CFO, Business Administrator, Jeff Dowd.
Thank you, Melissa. Go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Caitlin, would you like to start us off? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Board members, we have minutes to approve, to review from September 28th, 2021, set of regular meeting minutes, and then a non-public meeting minutes. Take a minute to read over. I'll be looking for someone to motion to accept.
I'll make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting and the non-public meeting on September 28th.
I have a question before I second. I think we may need to seal the non-public minutes, so can we separate is it okay to keep the motion to approve together and seal them separately? Or vote to seal them separately?
I think that you would want to separate it out so you could seal the non-public first.
Okay.
And then move later to approve those minutes.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to seal the non-public meeting minutes from September 28th.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All approved, raise your hand.
One moment.
Oh, sorry. Melissa, did we seal these that night? We did not, okay.
She's gonna say a reason for sure.
Okay. I'd like to amend my motion. So I'd like to seal the non-public minutes from the September 28th non-public meeting. It is determined that divulgence of the information likely would affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the public body itself.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you.
All right. Any discussion now? All right, all approved?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now look for someone to motion to accept the meeting minutes from the public meeting on September 28th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Second from Aaron. Any discussion? All right, all approved? All right. Now, do we want to approve these ones later at another time, or is it okay to approve the non-public meeting minutes?
If the board is ready to make the motion tonight, they can go ahead and do that, if it's your
Okay.
preference.
All right.
I'll make the motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes of September 28th, 2021.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Any discussion? All approved? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, so let me get that out of the way. All right, and we do have public comments tonight. We have two members of the community. We'll call Stephanie Herwood first. If you want to step up to the mic.
Hello, good evening. I just wanted to voice my personal concern regarding the masking of our children. I've heard the argument from the other side that universal masking is effective based off of science and medical data. I wanted to point out that, one, science is a field of study, it is not a fact. And two, I do have a 9-page paper of science and medical data arguing the use of mandating masks. Obviously, I can't go through this tonight, but I did forward you guys a copy a week ago. So I just want to say that when data is confusing, contradicting, and unclear, we should really yield the rights to the individual and allow them to make an educated decision that they feel is best for their personal situation. I'm not trying to argue against anybody who would like to mask their children going forward. I just believe that the parents who feel that it is better for their child not to wear a mask in school, that we should have the same opportunity and decision-making over our children. I want to address that there can potentially be social and psychological issues for certain children. I don't believe that mandating masks is a one-size-fit-all. There's children that may suffer from PTSD, mental illness, breathing problems, that may find wearing a mask, it might provoke anxiety and things like to that nature. So, like I said, especially where there's studies showing that if you adjust a mask even by 3.2%, it essentially alleviates any type of effectiveness that the mask would have. So I know that there have been other parents that feel the same way that I do, and we signed a petition, and I just wanted to come here tonight and personally put forth my opinion. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, and next we have Mindy Schroeder.
Okay. Bear with me, as it's been a long time since I've had to speak in public, and I had to do it off my cell phone because I couldn't get this to print out. There's something to be said about what makes this beautiful state, New Hampshire, so great and what separates us from the rest of New England. We are the land of liberties. We value our freedom and our rights, so much so that our state motto reminds us of just how important freedom is. Live free or die. What kind of life are we truly living if we are enslaved by our government or under the rule and thumb of somebody else? Our children deserve better than what they have been dealt these last 19 months. Every single child on some level or another has suffered through this pandemic. Whether they miss seeing their grandparents or friends for several months, or the lack of education they have missed out on. I want school to be a positive place for my children to get an education, not a place where fear continues to separate them from their friends, or gaslighting them, making them believe that they are carrying a virus that will make others sick or die. I believe it should be between the parent and the child to make that decision whether a mask should be worn. Too much power and control have been mishandled through the hands of the school board. It's time we gave it back to where it belongs, in the hands of the parents. I want each parent to have the right to vote on the subject matter, making masks optional. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I believe that's all public comments, so we're going to carry into current business. So first thing we're going to go into is the 90-day plan for the superintendent, Mr. Thompson, who's just finished his first 90 days. And as discussed in his first meeting, after the 90 days, he would come to us and give an evaluation of the school district and where it stands and what the priorities will be going forward.
All right, good evening, everyone. As David said, I'm here to present my 90-day Superintendent of Schools entry plan. Earlier this summer, I came before the board to present some deliberate steps that I would take in order to get to know the community well, and it really focused around 4 goals. And before I go into it, first of all, I just want to say what a wild ride the last 90 days have been, and how honored I am to have met so many wonderful people, whether it's the staff, students, community members, board members. It's just been such a remarkable experience, and I'm really proud to be here. And I also want to take note that if I could go back in time, I would change this. This isn't the Hsd Superintendent Plan. It really is the Hsd Leadership Team Plan. There's 11 of us on the leadership team. That's myself, the directors, principals, and assistant principals. Of those 11, there's 5 of us that are new. And we've really hired some extraordinary people who put so much time and energy in there that I can't claim this plan to be my own. So I want folks to keep that in mind as I go through. This is really a collective effort from the individuals that are sitting at this table who've just done a remarkable job on this journey in the last 90 days. So really there's 4 goals of the entry plan. The first was to examine the current instructional practices within the Hempstead School District. The second was to develop and maintain proactive and open relationships with community members, parents, civic leaders, and local business. And the third was to gain a comprehensive understanding of the operational needs of the district. And the fourth was to develop and enhance the capacity for organizational leadership within the Hempstead School District. So we'll start with goal number 1, to examine the current instructional practices within the Hempstead School District. And again, in sum total, there are 22 activities that we participated in, and I really just wanted to highlight 10, and really because they were the highlight, I think, of this entire experience. So one of those activities was we extended an opportunity to all faculty and staff for either an in-person or a Zoom listening session. And listening sessions were structured around 3 questions. And it's really important to note that, it was really remarkable the number of staff who engaged us in this process, that, took time out of their summer vacation or, time from a second job or from teaching summer school to come in and have that opportunity to meet with us. And so there were 3 questions that we asked all staff members. The first, what do you value most about the Hempstead School District? Then where do you see areas for growth within the Hempstead School District? And 3, how can the superintendent of schools or our Hempstead leadership team support your work with students? And so I just want to dive into each one of those 3 questions. So basically what we did is when staff came in, we would write down a thought or an idea on a sticky note. And when we were done with this process, we had hundreds of sticky notes. And we sat as a leadership team and we tried to organize them and make sense of them, have some really great conversations and reflect on the things that we heard. And there were really 3 things that resonated with all of us. The first is, what is best for students really drives the decision-making for our staff. Universally, when folks came in and we said, what do you value most? It is that the decisions that are made in the classroom, the decisions that are made by school leadership, decisions that are made by the school board are always done under that lens of what is best for the student, that child in the chair that we've talked about. Secondly, there's really a strong sense of collegiality amongst this staff. They really are a family. And this is something, that happened before COVID. This has been long-standing. To hear stories, I heard a teacher say, I got a call from my child's school. There was an emergency. I had to leave. My colleague who had a planned period came in, was able to pick up instruction so that I could go take care of my family. This staff is really tight. They lean on each other when things are tough. They support one another. We saw this in the entry meetings. We would have whole grade levels come and meet with us. We'd have whole teams come and meet with us because the individuals that work in these buildings, they lean on each other and they're a family. And that has benefit to kids. That's what we call collaboration. And it's very strong amongst this staff. And third, staff demonstrated a commitment to the whole child. And they've created a culture of care and connection within the school community. And you see that when you walk around the building. If you participate in an advisory activity or a morning meeting, It is much more than just satisfying the intellectual curiosity of children. It's helping to build strong children, to make them resilient, to provide for their social and emotional well-being. We educate children first, and then we teach content. The second question is, where do you see areas for growth? Again, this focuses on our staff. So staff desire the ability to fully engage in the work that has been impacted by the pandemic. It was the elephant in the room. We had to talk about the fact that the last 18 months have been really challenging for our educators and educators across the globe. And what's remarkable about Hsd is Hsd continued to make progress in the pandemic on several initiatives, on several projects, but it slowed down because we had to focus on a more fundamental need, and that is taking care of the children in front of us. So when we're meeting with staff and we talk about where can we grow, there was this true excitement about being able to get back to some of the work that slowed down a little bit during the pandemic. And quite honestly, we're really seeing that right now. Additionally, staff desire to build capacity for how we communicate within the school setting and the greater school community. As folks have heard me say, we will never be accused of over-communicating. And I think staff appreciate it when leadership has clear communication. And also that there are so many wonderful things going on in our schools every single day. I really feel like this staff wants to sort of deprivatize their practice. They want people in the greater community to see and experience some of the wonderful things that are going on in the school. So communication is definitely an area where we can look to grow. And then lastly, staff are looking for opportunities to reconnect with their colleagues and with their students. And when I get to the piece about meeting with students, you'll see, one thing that I heard was, wouldn't it be great if we could have, field trips again? If we could get back to that business of, putting the pandemic behind us, connecting in real and authentic ways with our students and with our staff as well. And then the third question for staff, what support do you need from the Hsd leadership team and the superintendent of schools? And the number one, staff are looking for a superintendent and a leadership team that are present and have a clear understanding of the work that's occurring in the classroom. And that may seem like a given, but there are school settings where teachers like to close their doors. They don't feel like they need the leadership team in their classroom, being part of the daily routine. That was not the case. We clearly heard that individuals are proud. Staff in the Hsd School District, they're very proud of the work that they do in the classroom. They want the leadership team to see it. They welcome critical feedback, and it's really been such an amazing experience. As a leadership team, we've had the opportunity to visit classrooms on several occasions now, and we're always welcomed very warmly by the staff members in the classrooms. We also heard resounding that staff are looking for leadership that just takes the opportunity to listen. And I felt like there was a lot of appreciation for the opportunity for staff to come in, to sit down, for us to just listen and reflect on some of the things that they've said. They're looking for a superintendent and leadership team that listens. And third, staff are looking for a superintendent that provides vision and strategic leadership. And we'll talk more about this when we get into the conversation about the strategic plan. But in essence, there's a ton of energy, there's a ton of talent. People just need to see and hear that vision. They need a roadmap, they want to know the direction that we're going. So additionally, to focus on another activity under Goal 1, so the activity was in collaboration with building principals and the Director of Learning Assessment Technology, develop a summer learning academy that will address universal learning loss, individual learning gaps that have resulted from the COVID-19 pandemic. I am really proud of the work that the administrative team has done with the Summer Learning Academy. So in total, we had 62 students from the central school, 23 students from the middle school. This was a collaboration. This was our folks, our staff, working with some local groups, such as Adventure Lord, the Brown Center out of the University of New Hampshire, and Lego Your Mind. And the Summer Learning Academy provided students with opportunities for social engagement, engineering design activities, small group reading and math instruction, And also, we had our library media specialists who are creating online content. So if you couldn't participate here in person, you had a wealth of resources that you could follow along with. We received overwhelmingly positive feedback from parents and from community and from the staff who participated. This really is something that we'd like to keep going. We believe we can continue to use ESSER funds, federal funds, to be able to fund this program. And if it continues to go successfully, we will need to have a conversation in future years about building this into the budget. It was really a great opportunity. The lead up to school, kids were really anxious and nervous about coming back to a building, some of whom haven't been in a public school classroom for 18 months. To be able to offer programming, that transition piece back into the classroom really helped to set our students on a good path. Additionally, under Goal 1, meet with building principals and teacher leaders to gain an understanding of the status of current district initiatives, including but not limited to, and here's all of the acronyms, right? We have response to intervention, or response to instruction, otherwise known as RTI, professional learning communities, we call those PLCs, and universal design for learning and social emotional learning. There really is a lot of high quality research-based instructional strategies that are found here in Hampstead. Again, with the pandemic, these programs continue to flourish, but I think people are excited to invest more time in it, particularly around universal design for learning. Our school district is a model district around the state of New Hampshire. We will have at a future board meeting our teachers come and present universal design for learning, essentially removing barriers and allowing access for all students to high quality education. So now we move on to Goal 2. Goal 2 is to develop and maintain a proactive and open relationship with community members, parents, civic leaders, and the local business community. And so again, a very similar format to what we did with teachers. We invited folks in, and we had lots of conversations around what do you value most about the Hampstead schools? Where do you see areas for growth? And then what are your expectations for the Hampstead Superintendent of Schools and our leadership team? So the first question, what do you value most? We heard people say, the schools continuously serve as a source of pride for the Hampstead community. People are very proud to be part of this community. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm probably sound like a broken record right now. Many people in this community, they grew up here. They went through the Hampstead schools. They went to Pinkerton. They left to explore post-secondary options, college, military, the world of work. And then when it came time to start a family, they came back. They came back for the small town feel. They came back for that same high quality education. And that was definitely clear throughout several of the meetings. Also, community members expressed that teachers in the Hampstead School District demonstrate a high level of commitment to their students and their learning. Again, it's not just about their academics, but there is a feeling and a sense that teachers really, truly care about the children that sit in front of them in class every single day. And then lastly, students in the Hampstead School District, again, this is what parents are saying, are well prepared for their future endeavors, including the time that they spend at Pinkerton Academy and beyond. Many of them would indicate, and we have data to support this, our students go on to Pinkerton Academy. They're very successful. They're highly competitive. They're often in the top of their class. And they're also very well-rounded. So areas for growth. When speaking with parents and community, they ask for greater communication and transparency from the school district. They asked for greater partnerships between the Hampstead School District and Pinkerton Academy. There's a lot of folks that indicated that they have younger children. They don't go to Pinkerton yet, but they'd love to know more about some of the things that are going on at Pinkerton. And that's certainly something that we plan to deliver on. And then increased collaboration between the community and community organizations. It's just the school as one piece of that broader community. And then the third question that we asked parents and community members, what do you expect from the superintendent of schools and our leadership team? And we heard that they ensure that the Hampstead schools continue the tradition of high standards and performance, And we had lots of conversations about being a culture of continuous improvement. We'll never rest on our laurels. We will never think we're the best. Rather than the best, we always focus on better. How can we make the experience for students better? How can we help them achieve at higher levels? Also, the community said they want us to take time to get to know the community. And there was one individual, and I don't remember who said it, but said, we should take time to honor the history of the community while guiding us into the future. And I thought that that statement was pretty profound. And then people want us to be an advocate for each and every child that enters the school. And it was really in having conversations with community members and with parents, you know, they all took time to really talk about the schools from the lens of the experience that their child had. And I thought that that was pretty profound. And under goal 2, also was to extend a meeting invitation to community leaders, faith-based organizations, emergency services, Hsd Board of Selectmen, and other individuals to discuss community partnership with the Hsd School District. This was really exciting. You know, this was like, you know, Mr. Rogers, get to know the people in your neighborhood. And I can't tell you how many wonderful conversations that we had with folks. Many of the places that we got to visit that otherwise we may not have had the opportunity to. And this list is not exhaustive, and I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm going to leave somebody off of the list. But we had the opportunity to meet with the Hampstead Lions Club on a couple of occasions, the Hampstead Select Board, Isaiah 58 New Hampshire, St. Anne's Food Pantry, leaders from all of the faith communities, both here in Hampstead, but also the synagogue in Derry. And that was really a profound conversation to have those folks sitting around the table talking about issues that are affecting youth in our community. Real powerful stuff. Emergency services, Hampstead Recreation Department, private schools, leaders from the Scouts, the Hampstead Mothers Club, the Hampstead Historical Society, the PTSA, and the Public Library. Really giving that big picture view of how we all play an important role when we work together. Really exciting stuff. So now I'm going to move on to goal number 3, and that is to gain a comprehensive understanding of the operational needs of the school district. So one activity was to establish a superintendent advisory council composed of representative stakeholders from the central school and from the middle school as well. We actually held our first meeting last week. It was a wonderful opportunity to sit with staff and give them a venue. We'll structure these meetings where, you know, I'll share with them some of the items that we're working on, some of the priorities as a district, but we'll leave plenty of time for staff to talk to us. You know, we framed it around, how are things going, what's going well, what keeps you up at night, and what are some of your wonders? And it was really, it was great to hear from staff. We talked about things, again, like communication. We talked about goal setting, observation and evaluation of teachers. And I look forward to using that group as a sounding board for future meetings. Again, under goal number 3, in collaboration with building principals, conduct listening sessions with a diverse group of student stakeholders in grades kindergarten through grade 8. I had the opportunity to meet with students last week. I met with a group from the middle school, and I met with a group from the central school. And I can tell you, we had such wonderful conversations. These were not superficial conversations. When we talked about, how do we improve the school, it wasn't just, better food in the cafeteria or more time at recess. Really, students, at the central school are talking about the desire to get outside, to experience learning outside the walls of the classroom. They talked about working in the community garden and how we could turn that into a fundraiser. They talked about the challenges of being educated in a pandemic. It has not been easy on them. And I think one takeaway for me, I was listening to a third grader talk about the school experience, and she commented that she hasn't been on a field trip. That idea of a field trip was this foreign concept to a third grade child. I mean, think about some of your most fondest memories of school. They're usually field trips. And so, we need to bring back field trips. We need to listen to our students because they have such really great ideas about how we can make the school better. So that's really one of my goals, is to make sure that that third grader this year goes on a field trip. Moving along to goal 4, to develop and enhance the capacity for organizational leadership within the Hempstead School District. Again, just the background on this particular goal, there's 11 of us on our Hempstead leadership team, principals, assistant principals, directors. 5 of us are brand new. We need to build capacity for leadership. Also, we have some very talented individuals in this organization. They are the future pipeline of educational leaders. They already serve in informal leadership roles. We need to build capacity so that when leadership positions become available, and we hope that they don't often, but we look internally, we look at the folks that we have to fill some of those positions. So one of the activities was in collaboration with the Hempstead Director of Student Services. We would reorganize the Department of Special Education into the Department of Student Services for the purposes of creating operational efficiencies and maximizing students, supports for students. So again, it's not just special ed. Special ed is a very important component of what a school district does. We're talking about equity. We're talking about providing a free and appropriate public education to children with disabilities. That's huge. However, students with disabilities or students in special education are not the only unique population of learners. We have in this school district children who are homeless. We have in this school district children with limited English proficiency. We have children in the school district that might be on a 504 plan, which is another form of a disability. We have unique learners. And really, when the Office of Student Services identifies the fact that all children are different and have unique needs, we create a more holistic approach to the department. And so one of the activities that Tracy, our Director of Student Services, has identified is there would be great value in us doing a program evaluation of all of our special education program. And that really is to have somebody come in this case from the Stratford Learning Center, Dr. Kevin Murphy, to come and take a look at our program, put a fresh set of eyes, somebody with 3 decades of experience in special education. And what he will do, Dr. Murphy will look at, what are the strengths of the program that we have to offer? Where is there room for improvement? And then also under goal number 4 is to develop a framework for a new 5-year strategic plan incorporating representatives from various stakeholder groups. And again, we held on September 27th our first meeting. Tomorrow evening, we have a parent focus group. They're going to provide some additional feedback, and they're going to seek feedback from the greater community to help inform that 5-year process. That will serve as the roadmap. And so again, in sum total, so if you go on the website, you will find the entire plans right on the front. There's 22 total activities, so I really just highlighted 10. We'll also make this presentation available after this program. But I wanted to focus on, okay, so I've had the opportunities, through the 90-day plan to really stop, look, listen, and draw some conclusions. And I've also had the opportunity to visit schools on many occasions, have many conversations with members of the community. And so I've drawn up what I call some future priorities based upon the experience. But I want to start by saying, I'm about 100 days in. I'm not an expert. These future priorities can change, and I hope that people would recognize that no one who comes into the organization has been here for 100 days, knows everything, is the light in the way. There's going to be an evolution. But for now, what I feel are the priorities are, number 1, ensure the seamless development of the Hempstead strategic plan. There's some really talented teachers in this district with a tremendous amount of energy and talent. There are some pretty remarkable students in very supportive families. If you put that together and we create a roadmap for the work that needs to be done, the values, the mission, and then those deliverables, with a really robust strategic plan, really amazing things are going to happen in the school district. They already are, but the strategic plan will be the framework that's going to get us to where we need to be. Again, never the best, but always looking to be a little bit better. So that really is priority number one. Number two, work to build support for an addition at the Hsd Central School. I will sound like a broken record before this school year is over. As I had indicated in a previous meeting, we have an elementary school that really is resulting in some limitations on student achievement. You have a building that is causing limitations in student achievement, and we talked about lack of ability to implement universal kindergarten. We've talked about the lack of ability because of spacing to future develop programs in special education. We've talked about, we may end up moving classes to carts. We have a variety of issues at the central school that really in the last few months have become abundantly clear. We need to address those issues. There is an urgency to this. Time is running out. And it's something that really needs to be a priority over the next few years. Another priority is provide support to staff, students, and parents as we continue to navigate through the COVID-19 pandemic. We're not done. And it is one of those things that consumes a lot of energy on our folks, whether it's our nurses or our building administrators or our teachers. One thing we probably haven't talked enough about is we have students that are required by Health and Human Services to go into a 10-day quarantine. In some cases, it can be a 10-day quarantine and an additional 10 days of isolation. Our teachers are working very diligently to provide those students with continuity of their education, making sure that they have everything that they need, Zooming with them, making sure that they don't miss a beat. But it's a lot of work. And if there's anything that our leadership team can do, it can be to support our teachers who are really trying to keep it together for those kids that have to quarantine. And then another priority is look for additional opportunities to partner with community organizations for the benefit of our students. Meeting with some of these groups, whether it's scholarships or eyeglasses from the Lions, or the work that Isaiah 58 New Hampshire is doing. There's a tremendous amount of resources collectively as a community that we can help support each other with. And there's stuff the school can do to help support some of these local organizations as well. And that really needs to be the focus, us all working together for the benefit of our students. And then lastly, another priority is we're a brand new SAU, and we are constantly developing and improving systems. When we rolled into the office on July 1, there was nothing in the office. They were actually building a wall for a reception area. So there's been this slow progression of, filling the office with furniture and hiring staff, but building lots of systems, new systems, so that we can be operational. And I really have to say, our SAU office staff has worked so hard building the ship mid-sail. And this really needs to continue to be a focus as we move forward. Every month presents new challenges as new things come up. And they're doing a wonderful job. I'm proud to be part of a team that really is in some ways like a startup business. So these are some of my priorities as we move forward based upon the 90-day entry plan and a lot of the experiences that I've had over the last few months. And with that said, that really is the end of my presentation. I welcome any questions, comments that the board might have.
Board members?
I have a comment. I just wanted to give you and your team kudos here because it is apparent how in-depth and how widespread you went with this to understand a new district, to figure out and I think bringing somebody in who looks at this with new eyes, beyond just having a new SAU, this is clearly great. I think it's building blocks for our 5-year strategic plan, and I just want to really commend you and the team for it because it really shows how dedicated you all are to Hampstead. And as a board member and as a board as a whole, I think we appreciate that. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Board members, so just a couple questions from me. First, I'm excited to hear about the field trips because, love to hear that our kids are going to get back into field trips. I think it's paramount.
Well, if I don't deliver, I'm going to have a very disappointed third grader. I can't have that happen.
Yeah. The one about the, student services, special education with Dr. Murphy coming, and I know we've spoken about it before, but just to remind everybody what that, is entailing. Can you speak about that a little bit more so that parents can know what's going to come out of that and when?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is actually a year-long process that Dr. Murphy will engage with our team, and it's done using what's called the Hsd tool, which is essentially a rubric which analyzes various aspects of special education within a school district. And what it does is it's a very collaborative process. Every member of the school community will have an opportunity to meet as part of a focus group. They'll provide feedback to Dr. Murphy. He'll bring that to a team of individuals that Tracy has selected, which is a representative group, so they'll be able to analyze that feedback. They'll also be able to look at the rubric to see where do we score high, where do we need to work on. And what will happen is they will bring a report to this board later in the spring, around April or May, so that you get a better sense. And that work really ties in nicely with the strategic plan as well. And then one other thing I should have mentioned when we talk about student services is it's looking at revenue. There's a tremendous amount of revenue in the world of special education and student services. There have been a lot, Medicaid to Schools is a great example. There have been a lot of changes to the Medicaid to Schools program in the last few years, even before the pandemic. As a result, a lot of school districts across the state have not maximized their revenue, and that includes Hampstead. Now that the rules have been sorted out, we need to train our folks, get folks back on track so that we can increase revenue. And I say that as an afterthought, because our first commitment in special ed is to serve our students, but we also don't want to leave money on the table. And so that is part of the work, is looking at our revenue, and Tracy's done a nice job of this, to make sure that we're maximizing all monies.
Thank you. And then just echo what Caitlin said, just appreciate, when we voted to bring in a new superintendent, we had the choice of somebody who's been a superintendent or somebody that's going to be a new superintendent to the whole field. And of course, questions on that, concerns or whatnot, but you've landed it, and I appreciate that. I think the community appreciates that you've reached out a tremendous amount of times, gone to different, social events, community events, and appreciate all the diligence into this and the continued work with the priorities that are going to come forth. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
I have a quick
there
one. Flies back. It's the second one because we got one earlier. So you touched really briefly on social emotional learning. I was hoping you could elaborate a little bit on that as to what is being done in the classroom so that parents, community members can hear that. Because I do hear that the kids are struggling a bit, because they're going from, so say if I just use the fifth grade as an example, they went from being third graders to in school for a few months and then all of a sudden in a new school and a new environment. So I just, like to kind of touch base on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I want to start, Aaron, by acknowledging what you're saying, because we're hearing this from staff, and I think we're seeing it that, we're having to do a lot of really specific and discrete teaching about like the game of school and how it's played. Things that we maybe didn't have to teach children, prior to the pandemic. Things like taking turns, raising your hand, not cutting the line, making eye contact. And I'm not just talking about our kindergartners, I'm talking about our middle schoolers as well. If there's one area that I think that we've seen we need to do more work in, it is with student behavior. And I'm going to tell you it's still a work in progress. But I'll give you the example of the middle school. The middle school, has an advisory committee. They've been working directly with Adventure Lore. Again, Adventure Lore does a lot of team building. They're going to come in once a month and they're going to work. They're going to model for our staff, how to do team building, and our students get to participate in a lot of really great activities, and that's grant funded. So you have your advisory program. We have morning meeting. We have teachers, who we've had to say to them, like, you will need to take more time to teach some of these preferred behaviors. Like, in order to get kids to be available for learning, we have to pause, and we give people permission to do that, right? To get people back into how to play the game of school. It's certainly a work in progress and something that we know we're gonna need to do some future work on.
And I understand you have some workshops and things that for teachers and staff along those lines that are supposedly coming up, maybe?
Yeah, well, we've had, at the middle school, they've developed a schedule, and again, with Adventure Lore. And we had a group of middle school teachers go to Adventure Lore for some training. And we'll continue to do that. There's a social and emotional learning conference that's coming up in Concord in I think, a couple of weeks. And we have some folks that will be going to that as well. Yep.
That's all I had.
All right.
Great.
Just 1 second, I just want to.
Oh, sure.
All right. Just had a quick quorum with the board members. We're going to move D up, only because just we see that you have your daughter here and don't want to keep her out late. So we're going to go and shift the agenda around a little bit and just move the petition discussion up to next, and then we'll talk about the building addition and 60s wing to after that. All right? Yeah. So.
All right, moving on. So we have received a petition for a special meeting. I received the petition, and I sent it to the supervisor of the checklist to be able to verify that it had the required signatures, required being 50 signatures to hold a special meeting. It does, in fact, meet the standard. In total, there are 72 names that were able to be verified, and I'm going to read the petition. To the Hsd School District, pursuant to RSA 197:2, we, the undersigned, duly registered voters within the Hsd School District in the town of Hampstead, New Hampshire, hereby make application to our school board to warn a special meeting to act upon the following question: to see if the voters of the Hampstead School District will vote to adopt the following provisions pertaining to requirements to wear face coverings within the Hampstead School District. A, the use of face coverings shall be optional for all students at the sole discretion of their parent or guardian. And B, the use of face coverings shall be optional for any employees and visitors on school district facilities and attending school-sanctioned events.
Thank you. Board members have a little discussion on this. Questions or comments for Mr. Thompson? Okay.
And if it would be helpful, I can actually read the RSA 197:2 for those people who are, might be interested. So RSA 197:2, a special meeting of a school district shall be held whenever, in the opinion of the school board, there is occasion, therefore, or whenever 50 or more voters, or 1/4 of the voters of the district, whichever is less, shall have made written application to the school board, therefore, setting forth the subject matter upon which action is desired. No special school district meeting shall be held in conjunction with the biennial election, except when a special school board district meeting has been approved by the court and a school district has adopted the official ballot referendum form of meeting pursuant to RSA 40:14.
All right. Board members?
I don't have anything, I just don't know what the next steps are.
All right. Megan, anything? Jason?
Just, again, what the next steps are. I believe the next step here, if I remember correctly, is to move this to legal. have legal look it over, verify it, and then take the steps that they guide us to. Is that correct?
What is interesting with this petition, so my experience, I've seen petitions for special meetings are typically to raise and appropriate school funds. For example, if the septic system at the middle school failed, we didn't have enough funds in the operating budget, call a special meeting. The legislative body could vote on raising and appropriating funds. I think the question becomes matters of policy. So matters of policy are typically afforded to a local school board and not to the legislative body. So that question is something that we could ask of our legal team.
And that's what I think we need to do, only because throughout the state, there's been a lot of discussion about this, about what boards can do, what can they not do, what can the public do, what can the public not do. And so I think that is the best course of manner for this.
Then with that said, I'd like to make the motion to take the petition, forward it to legal for their review and guidance for the next steps.
Okay. Anyone want a second?
I'll second that.
Second, for discussion? All right, I mean, if this passes, I would ask that we have Mr. Thompson get a hold of our council immediately to get his, the council's opinion on the next steps and, in the manner we follow those. All right. I don't know, any other questions, comments? All right. All approved? All right. So hopefully that answers that for everybody. Whenever there's a petition like this, because of the nature of it, we do need to get council's opinion for the risk of the district, so that typically we get these responses promptly. I'd say, I'd say within the week-ish, we should hear from council with an opinion. Depending on the timing, we may do that at the next board meeting, is what I would expect, is to state what that plan is, because based on his opinion, we would then start to put those plans in place.
Great.
So, good? All right. We're going to move on to the next discussion. This one is on the HCS building addition for warrant article discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So looking at the plans that we've had in the past, obviously we were pretty close last year in terms of what our voting population told us for feedback, and we have a plan in place already that we could move forward on, update the pricing, and review and tweak anything that we see as potential for improvement to it. We don't have a tremendous amount of time to do that. It's a large project. Obviously, construction costs have gone up and appear to be on the trajectory to go up even more for when we have the project finally slated to begin with. So one thing for consideration that we've discussed is the possibility to look at the Cove, I'll call them the Cove, building out the Cove classrooms as well. And perhaps doing that separate from, or potentially separate from, the addition and renovation itself. So I've circled those classrooms, and that's just a bottom floor plan, but I've circled the location of where those classrooms would go. And that's right before you enter the 60s wing. And there's space there for a classroom on the main floor and then on the second floor as well. So I just wanted to get an idea from the board as to what direction you'd like to go in exploring trying to have those classrooms perhaps separate from, or have them part of, but broken out from the main plan itself.
Expand on that a little bit, Jeff. So, the last board meeting took the action that we would have a meeting between Mr. Thompson, Mr. Dowd, and Mr. Mackey to discuss what's out there for our plan right now that didn't pass this past year. And we started to discuss what are different options we could do to price out, to consider before moving forward with any type of warrant article. one of the ideas that we floated and would like to, at least continue on a bit to understand the pricing differences for these 2 classrooms. And I'm gonna step back a second. We've had discussions about the classrooms, about the spacing, about possibly having art on a cart, everything on a cart, it seems like, because of the growing population of children coming in from kindergarten, first grade, et cetera. We had 20 students who did not enroll in kindergarten this year for various reasons, but we expect them to be here next year with first grade. That we're bursting at the seams here. We're in losing classroom space every day. Never mind, are we not able to sufficiently provide for student services, special education? So, we know we need classrooms. That's a priority. So one of the thoughts were what's circled in green, which would be a first floor and second floor classroom. We would get 2 classrooms. Depending on the price, we may want to bring this into our budget for next year and separate it from the rest of the warrant article, which would bump out the office area in the front in the bottom left of the picture. It would be separate from having a dedicated cafeteria, dedicated music room, dedicated library, and additional classrooms that we're going to get from all of that. So that way we do start chipping away at getting classrooms, which we do need as a priority. So that's why we started to discuss getting separate pricing. So we would ask the contractor, give us pricing for those 2 classrooms by themselves. Give us pricing for the addition without the 2 classrooms, and then give us pricing for everything together. So that way we can evaluate at a future board meeting which way it makes sense for us to go. Because after discussions between the 4 of us last week, really seemed like that was the 2 different ways to do this. We wanted to get board members' feedback because questions that we would have, questions we would want to bundle into having discussions with a contractor, and just your initial feedback. I know we haven't talked about this very much at all till this point, and just get everybody's thoughts. Okay.
I would definitely like to see us get pricing for these separated out the way you mentioned, because while all of this is needed, none of this is frivolous. The classroom space is such a priority, and we are so immediately at the point that we are out of space, that we know how hard it is to pass a project of this size. So having the potential to have it in the budget, should the numbers come back in a positive way, it just makes sense to me. We were able to chip away at the renovations thanks to the support of the town voting for it this past year. This is another way to chip away at it. It would be great to pass this whole project, because even as we talk about chipping away at it, we're adding those classrooms because we have so many kids. Well, those kids are going to need somewhere to eat lunch. Those kids are going to need somewhere to have gym. So it certainly makes sense to me to look at pricing and see what we can do in as many ways as possible.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing that came to mind when, so I agree with what Caitlin said. The part that concerns me is, we spoke so confidently and we worked so hard last year to get the right plan. And I just worry about changing the plan, how that would be perceived. I know the need is there, but just, I feel like it may impact the integrity of all the work that was done. But I do think exploring the option is definitely a good idea.
I agree with that too, but I do kind of have a question regarding it. So in this particular case, so say we went with a plan this way and say it passed, and you had essentially, what does that give you, two additional classrooms? Is that's for kindergarten or just in general?
It would not necessarily be for kindergarten.
Because my concern for that would be is if you're allowing more kids into kindergarten, do you have the space everywhere else?
Yeah, we're anticipating right now that we'll need to add grade 1. So our compulsory education, it begins with grade 1 because we have a half-day kindergarten program. So we would need to look at our class size numbers to determine if first grade through fourth grade if we were adding a section, and we know we're adding one in first grade, so at least one of those classrooms. And again, we're also talking about a project that would be a year out. So we don't know when we finally move in what grade levels, but, so I wouldn't say exclusively kindergarten.
Okay, that would just be my concern, is that if you have a classroom allotted for one group of kids to come in, where are they gonna go if you don't have any space in the other areas? That would be my only concern with it. But I think it might be an easier pill to swallow to do things in pieces, but
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's gonna cost us more money doing it in pieces.
right.
I mean, I think about, try not playing on Monday morning quarterback. When I moved here 7, 8 years ago, when one of the first plans came through, we'd be just about done paying for it for about a third of the price.
Right.
Right? And I think that chunking away of this, we look at this, where these 2 classrooms are, well, we're just finishing the brickwork on one of these corners. So all that brickwork that we're just putting in, we're gonna tear right down to build into the classroom, essentially. Right? So there's things like that that I really hope that, we get more communication out there, more support, so we're not doing this. But at the same time, we're already facing what breaks my heart is art on a cart. Like, if anybody's seen what Mr. Hurley does there in the central school, it's amazing for the kids. And he's able to do that with his own dedicated room, and the kids can go in there and have a full art class. With this, art on cart, they're gonna lose 25 to 35% of their classroom time with, bringing everything out, putting everything back on the cart, so they lose that education time. So I'm hoping that we, don't face that, but it's been in our face and it's finally here. So,
Yeah, I mean, I hate the idea of that. I just don't know if, and I'm not trying to go against this
No.
because I do, but I just worry that this isn't gonna solve
No.
any of that. It's gonna just
it
give
doesn't,
room here and not anywhere else. And I
Correct.
don't know if that's gonna actually help or not.
right?
I do have a question which might be jumping the gun a little bit here, but when we do ask the construction team for pricing on this, for these Cove classrooms, could we also ask a general time frame? So for instance, if even if, say, the whole project passes, does it make sense to prioritize those classrooms because they can immediately get into them? And again, this might be too soon, but just something to put on their radar, of what kind of time frame that would be.
I like that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I know, just for the public, in case they didn't see the last time, but I think it's worth repeating. We're continuing to also look at, any grant money, any money at the state, because of I'll just be honest, because of our town is affluent, and they don't look at ours as a very needy district. They don't. They look at, cities like Manchester, Nashua, who get the grant money first. So we're not exactly in the top pecking order to receive the grants. We're continuing to go after those, but we're just always in that lower percentage, and the Department of Education has told us that also. There's some things that they see and they're like, yeah, you do have some safety concerns, you do have these concerns, you're not giving everything to special ed, we probably should, but it doesn't match up to the bigger cities and the other districts that have, it's called, not as affluent towns. So don't think that we're not trying to do that. We are, but everywhere we go, we're just not in that piece of the puzzle. So, we don't have numbers today. We don't have, this. We just talked about this last week. We wanted to get the board's thoughts on this first before moving forward. No votes needed. No, we're not deciding on anything yet. But I would imagine that either at the next board meeting or the following one, we'll have a better idea of what that is, the numbers, and have some discussions. And we'll go from there. Anybody else? All right. Keeping with this, we'll move into 60s Wing Improvement Project update from Mr. Dad.
Project continues to chug along, to move along, which is great. We've had some additional windows installed, and we're on track for where we thought we would be. The brickwork is coming along really spectacularly well. It looks really, really good so far. We expect that we're going to have the HVAC units we're waiting on installed, aiming for around the Thanksgiving timeframe, if not before. What we're looking to do, a very novel approach has been proposed to completely isolate and separate out the classrooms from the common area hallway. And what the contractor has proposed to do is to, or what they'll be doing is to have 2 classrooms at a time vacated, completely blocked off. The doors will be locked from the classroom to the common hallway. The rooms will be accessible to each other. Obviously, they share that door. The work for the HVAC would take place in both rooms simultaneously. The room would be accessed by a ramp and scaffolding to the exterior directly by the construction team. So they would be able to isolate out those rooms completely, do their work. When they're done their work, they would put the final windows in and close up the room. We've been able to accommodate the relocation of those classrooms on a temporary basis. Dr. Cheney has been able to do a wonderful job with the logistics of that temporarily. So it really is looking like a good plan to keep things moving before winter really sets in. Obviously, it's difficult to even believe that winter is coming after a day like today. It happens every year, inevitably. So this will help keep us on track, keep the construction team completely separate from the schools and allow the work to go simultaneously. They are aware, and we have made it a priority with them, to make sure that there's no disturbance in the classrooms to other surrounding classrooms, noise, those sorts of things. It's been okay so far. They've done the brickwork, and we were there observing last week, and it was a very an environment that didn't seem to interrupt the learning experience for the students. So, good stuff. Any questions on that? Good.
I do it. Just, I was asked a question today about the windows in the classrooms. Are the windows meant to be so that they cannot be opened at all?
There's one opening window in each classroom.
Okay. That was planned.
That was planned.
Okay.
Yep, it's that one, every classroom has that one window that looks like it doesn't quite line up with the others, and that's a smaller window, that's the window.
Okay.
And theoretically, with the air circulation plan we have, bringing in fresh air, and that sort of thing, typically you wouldn't need, as we know, in like office buildings, you don't have windows that necessarily open, and like office buildings built 20 years ago had a focus on fresh air as much as we do. But having that system in place is very, very helpful. We do have that window which will open.
Okay.
Yep.
And then are they still, what's the time frame to complete this project now?
Fully complete, we expect largely complete, I'd say around Thanksgiving, and I think that we'd go up until Christmas to get the final finish work done. Trailers off site, everything cleaned up.
Okay. That's all I got. Okay. Next, we'll go around for board comments, correspondence. I'm going to start far left to Jason.
All set.
I don't have anything.
Only thing for me is I've been able to watch plenty of the games here, and it seems that all our middle school sports teams are doing pretty well. So congratulations to the coaches, the students that are out there playing and winning, and keep it up. So I think we're wrapping up in the next couple weeks.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything either.
All right. I'm going to move on to consent agenda. So Mr. Thompson with the personnel report.
I don't have any official items on our personnel report, but I do want to make a plug. We continue to be in need of substitute teachers, para-educators. The Hsd School District is a wonderful place to work. And so if anyone is looking for a new adventure, please consider going to our website and at least exploring an opportunity to enter the world of education.
Thank you. And then superintendent's report.
Yeah, just real quickly, I wanted to highlight a couple of items. First of all, the Hampstead Central School, last week, we had several staff members attend a state conference on universal design for learning. You've heard me talk a lot about that. Several of those staff members, including members of the Hampstead Middle School, will come before the board in November to report out on all the work that they're doing. It's really great stuff. The Hampstead Middle School last week, they kicked off their annual Play for the Cure with an outside pep rally, followed by raffles, home sport events. It was a beautiful day to celebrate the community service project. Play for the Cure was an incredible success. They raised $3,000, and a heartfelt gratitude to the organizers, student staff, entire school community had joined together in an effort to find a cure for cancer. And also congratulations to our athletes for their wins. They swept that day, which was wonderful. And it really was, I had the opportunity to attend, and it was like a homecoming. I feel like there was an opportunity for students and parents to connect in an event that they haven't had the experience of having, in person for quite some time. It was really, I think, emotional for some folks. Additionally, we held our first Safer at School screening program testing. That, as you'll recall, is a grant-funded program from the state of New Hampshire. It is an optional program, and it allows for PCR testing of students. So last Wednesday, we started at the Hsd Central School. We had approximately 50 students and staff participate. I'm happy to say that we did not identify any positive cases as a result of the testing. Next Wednesday, we'll move over to the middle school. I did send a link to parents yesterday. If you have been thinking about signing up and you'd like to, there's the link. We can always add you to the testing. It's very quick. Students missed about 5 to 10 minutes of class time. We also try to do it at a time that doesn't impact their instruction. And I will turn it over to Mrs. Tomaselli for a couple of quick updates.
Hello. So I just wanted to let you know that our clubs, our registration is underway and open. So if people are listening and they have not signed their child up for a club yet, at the Central School we have Let Go Your Mind Club, which is going to be held on Mondays. We have 11 kids already signed up, so those very few coveted seats left. That's for 4th graders only. And we're going to start an American Sign Language Club for 3rd grade. And there might be some additional clubs coming down the pipe soon for our grades 1 and 2 students. And Dr. Cheney and I will be communicating about that later this week. At the middle school, there is a plethora of options for families, but I think one that most people will really be looking forward to is the homework club on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's going to be offered with transportation. So there really is no good excuse why you can't attend homework club and get your homework done. So we also have some fun new clubs. There's going to be a jewelry making club, Cooking Through the Seasons, which is almost full. Hawk Happenings is going to combine creative writing and journalism. That'll happen on Thursdays. So things are underway. If you haven't checked those emails from the principals recently, you might want to, because registrations are filling up. We do have transportation secured, so I'm very excited to be able to offer that. I need everyone to know that it's not your typical bus stop. It'll be a general bus stop. But having that late bus will really be a game changer for students who typically couldn't stay late or attend. Maybe their parents are working or they just didn't have a ride. So I think that's a really good step in terms of offering equitable opportunities to everyone. Do you have any questions about that?
No, I just want to say thank you for that. I've talked to a lot of parents and said, new administration, this leadership team is doing a lot of good stuff, and that's just evidence of that. So I appreciate something different for the community that hasn't been here since I remember, at least.
Thank you. And I want to also be appreciative to people who've been patient, because I know people have been very patient waiting for clubs to come out. Some of them have already started, like the Select Jazz Band and Select Choir are underway, but getting the transportation piece in place, it's just one more layer of complication. And I did want to reiterate that this is just session A. So we're going to divide the school year into 4 different sessions, A, B, C, and D. If right now is not a good time, maybe you're in a fall sport, and it's just busy, there's going to be a whole nother set of club offerings just after the offerings will come out early December, but they'll start in January. And then we'll do it again in March, and then one more time in April. So the plan is to offer several seasons of clubs and have a variety of things happening. And this is new proposal, by the way, for teachers. This is a whole new format for them as well. So I'm excited about it.
It's great.
Did you have a question?
All set.
No?
All right.
Tech update would now be a good time. So we did open we had the RFP recently. We got 2 bids. I don't know if it's okay for me to say details, but we do have a vendor that we're very comfortable with.
I think we should do that in non-public, only
Okay.
because of the bidding.
Sure, that's
Okay.
fine with me. So I'm excited about that. And to talk about what Bob was saying earlier tonight, we have done a lot of systems kind of look and evaluations up to this point in the year. One of the things that I just wanted to acknowledge, a lot of our teachers have been patient but also diligent in getting their goals in. And as I start to read through their goals, which, you know, to be honest, these things have kind of fallen to the wayside with COVID and teaching remote in the past 2 years, the goals that they're writing are incredibly detailed, and they really are demonstrating this need to kind of blend our vision of what we could be with other new curriculum pieces that are coming into play. So I'm very impressed by the goals that teachers are providing us, and it really speaks to you know, the work that we're all looking forward to doing this year.
That's awesome. Thank you. Anything else for superintendent's report?
That's it. I'll entertain any questions that folks might have.
I don't have any questions, but I did want to make a quick comment about the testing. I think I commented to you separately. I think it's a great thing. My kids had a cold, and I kept them home, and it took 3 or 4 days for me to get the PCR test results back. Had I, you know, because I will admit, I had not signed my own child up for that. Just out of pure not having time and forgetting. But it would have been like a nice to know, like, oh, well, he just got tested, so I know he's okay. Instead, it was quite a lengthy process that was a little painful. But I just think I signed him up just to, I'd like to just have it, just to know. And how long does it take?
They said between 24 to 48 hours, but we got results within 24.
So that's great.
And another benefit, I may have mentioned this before, is, you know, if we were to identify the possibility of a cluster, or we had determined that there could be community spread, we can work with Convenient MD. They will come on site and provide that PCR testing. So parents in a classroom won't necessarily have to wait, you know, 3 days to get test results. They would have that. And again, it's all optional, but that's just another, because of this partnership we've formed, it gives us a couple more tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to put that out there that I think had I done that before, I wouldn't have worried so much and not even necessarily for them, but just I couldn't obviously send them to school and potentially spread that. So, but it was a cold. So, but anyway, that's all I had to say about that.
All right. I don't think we have any other business or old business, so we're going to look for a motion to go to non-public under RSA 91A3 2. I believe we're going to go under A, I, and E. So A, E, and I.
I'll make the motion.
All right. A second?
Second.
All right. Melissa, you want to take the roll call?
Mr. Giard?
Yes.
Ms. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Pellegrini?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Thank you. The time is 8:20.
All right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. All right. We are back from non-public, and we have one vote to take, and then we'll end the night. We'll look to seal the minutes.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to seal the minutes tonight. It is determined that divulgence of the information likely would affect adversely the reputation of someone other than a member of the public body itself.
Second.
Second.
Non-public minutes.
All right. Any discussion, questions? All approved? All right. All right. And that'll adjourn the night. Thank you very much.